Samano. So I've been in Mongolia 3 times, and that's the only word I can say properly, and I even practiced, and that was it. So there we go. Thank you so much for being here today and staying through a long day. Really appreciate it. I want to take a moment and talk to you folks about Rymedi. So Rymedi is all about blockchain protocol. How many folks here know about blockchain? That always helps. Anybody, when you think about blockchain, do you think about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? Have people here heard about Monero and IOTA and the Rymedi protocols, right? Perfect. So when we talk about protocols and I have conversations like this, I talk about 2 basic concepts. What am I trying to enable and what am I trying to prevent? So earlier we had a wonderful security question. How do we have transfer of information between disparate systems in a secure, trustworthy, immutable way? And that's what we're all about. In blockchain protocol, once you write it, it can never be deleted and it can never be changed, right? From a regulatory perspective, I love that. It makes my life much easier. In the Rymedi world, we wrote the protocol very specific to FDA Pharma compliance, medical device compliance, clinical trial compliance, and we integrate with HIPAA compliance from a health system provisioning way. So what we can do is, as we speak wellness, so wellness of a community is more than just what happens inside the hospital, right? So I had the opportunity to be in the country, and we were able to do some rapid diagnostic tests with people here in Mongolia. How do we trust that data? How do we know who did the test? How do we know we can interface to our healthcare systems in a way that we can, when people walk in the door? So we're going to talk through that from a business-to-business integration perspective. Earlier we heard about the hallway. So let's picture this is our hallway. And Casper did a wonderful job talking about, I need to talk to Dan about one certain thing. I need to talk to clinicals in the back. I need to talk to secondary labs. But more importantly, I have a lab that's outside of our healthcare system that maybe is in another country. So when that person walks into the hallway in that front door, what data are they bringing with them, and is it trusted? And when they leave the healthcare system on the backside, how do we know what's happening when they go home? Continual care, follow-up checks. In our world, that is wellness to a community. And this is a clicker that's not working. Yep. Next one. So perfect. So what we're going to talk about is this space today based on the amount of time we have. The protocol itself handles the regulatory requirements as well as the intercompany. We've talked about metrics today. How do you grab data between different operations within? In the regulatory space, in the US, we have HIPAA regulations. Here in Mongolia, I'm working with Vmonos Pharmaceutical. They follow CGMP, good manufacturing practices, which are established by the World Health Organization. Should we be doing things where the Mongolian Center of Excellence, which I believe we're helping co-develop in the healthcare space, in the pharmaceutical space, in the global wellness space, and we're going to share that expertise globally, Mongolia can set the standards so we can share these concepts with other countries that we get to work with quite frequently. Sudan, for example. We're doing work currently in Medellin, Colombia. Some of the great practices I'm learning here in Mongolia will speed wellness, adoption, and allow them to glean some of the things we're doing here, and we're truly excited about it. So let's talk about the business-to-business integration. External lab, a patient walks in. Today they have their card. They lose their card. The information that's coming from the lab, do you trust the lab? Yesterday we heard when they go between in-health system labs, sometimes tests are done twice, just so you know it was done properly by the protocol that's been defined. Imagine that the information coming in is from a trusted, secure, immutable, regulatory structure that you can share between operations that are inside and outside the healthcare system. I mean, think of the power of that, integrating outside the hallway. Inside the hallway, the expertise I've heard today is just amazing. It truly is. I mean, the experts in Chorus and Frisk, they're the best I've run into around the world, okay? Taking that full end-to-end system gives us data pooling opportunities for drug discovery. I'm working with a group out of Virginia Commonwealth University where they're doing a ciprofloxacin synthesis process. They're choosing certain catalysts during the formulation Do they know how they're accepted by the patients at the end? Maybe there was a better catalyst to use. These are the kind of new value opportunities at Rymedi. This is what we look to open inside of healthcare and wellness in its totality. That's the back button. Hey, there we go. So today we've been talking over here, doctors, hospitals, patients' outcome. It's wonderful. At Rymedi, we think of it as a complete value arc. All of these things feed into that patient experience and that patient wellness. So in our protocol, we do clinical trials. We take the data that's being done in field. We do follow GCP, good clinical practices. We grab that data so then it can be integrated into a health management system that the patient can be integrated to how the clinical, where they're looking for an experimental protocol, how they can be integrated into that healthcare record, right? So now we're starting to take this part. On the manufacturing side, the manufacturing practices, can you do something in country in a small batch, which would enable the Mongolian health system to do innovative studies, right? You have to still manufacture in a regulatory way, but knowing that, let's say the loading dock is right behind Andres, and in that hallway, that compound is coming in. Is it trusted? Is it made properly? Has the certificate of analysis been performed so that compound that we're treating that patient with, right, is trusted? There's no question that what's in that bottle is what they're taking. They're following the protocol that was defined earlier by Frisk. And how does that integrate through the entire supply chain of what wellness means? On the distribution side, we're having an opportunity, some of the homeopathic medicines that I'm learning about here in Mongolia that I had the opportunity to use and realized how wonderful it was, and I won't try to pronounce the herb because I'll butcher it, but it works great. We're looking to bring those into the US. Are there compounds that we can bring in from other countries that are ICHQ7, International Common Harmonization compliant, that can enhance the wellness programs that are out there? More importantly, one of the questions we have is payment. So if I have a trusted account, right? So I'm at a bank, I make a deposit. It puts a ledger transaction, I know exactly how much I have. There's FINRA regulations for international commerce. The Rymedi protocol ensures that, so that as the health insurer, the patient comes through the hallway, I've got a diagnosis, comes into an amazing healthcare system, it's integrated, it's well, they leave the door, they go home and they start thinking, how am I gonna pay this bill? Who do I have to call to get this processed? So the wellness that we just brought to the individual goes back and their blood pressure goes back up because they're concerned about the completeness of the loop. Closed loop is taking care of the patient, identifying what's with the patient, and worrying about how they are after they've gone home. And if taking care of integrated payments is a way to do that, great. Another way we can look at it is, let's say we have a country that's creating a compound and we want to have an international exchange to bring value-based medicine into Mongolia to help the Mongolian people. It develops a token-type economy where we can incentivize behaviors. Watch this video. Token can be offset for your insurance payment. Okay? So there's many ways that we can monetize that. We're going to talk about that to enable costs to be reduced over time, but the touch personalization and effectiveness of our healthcare can increase. So what I did is we went through, sorry it's a bit of an eye chart, but we went through, and this is another graphic of that same arch, but these three in particular that we shared with different people around the world I wanted to share here. So by doing this entire value arc, so I can blockchain traceable, immutable, trusted data inside the four walls, outside the four walls, and the entire experience chain, we can do things where we can look at problem solving, like the trust problem. How do I trust the protocol is followed, they receive the medication, and the patient the insurance company can be processed? How do I trust that, right? Trustable, immutable data. Patient care, we talked about it, wellness programs, mobile health initiatives, right? We can use gamification in some of the customer or that patient interaction that Frisk was doing so well in explaining that if they're doing these things, we can offset healthcare by being proactive in their own personal healthcare, right? Healthcare starts at the home. It starts in the mind, it starts in the heart, and when we connect that experience, I think we'll go much further. Outcomes, when we're looking at patient care continuum, right? Further data pulling to look at what are we doing? We have a bunch of brilliant people in the room. How do we take this and equate it to actual action in field? We can talk about design and we can talk about amazing programs all day long. I had the opportunity to be at a testing center when they were doing the the viral load secondary testings, and we were doing some diagnostic on some rapid diagnostic tests, right? I got to see the children in the room, right? Those children look about the same age as mine. I have 4 daughters. And I saw the look in their eye when they were looking at their parents and wondering, do they have Hep C, right? And the time and the care that caregiver gave and spoke to those children and explained the why, right? These are those kind of programs we can really bring some change. But all this theory stuff is great. I say we go to something that's real that we actually did. So this really happened at World Hep C Day, for World Hepatitis Day, that we shared with the World Health Organization. Earlier we heard the amazing program where they're doing Hep C secondary diagnostics, find out confirmation, as well as integration with the doctor. Well, Rymedi, working collectively with the Onom Foundation, said, can we take it further? Right? So what we did, I came out, 2 months ago, we walked through the process. So the process, we worked actually with the rapid diagnostic company. It's a company called CTK. They're in San Diego. They're a small company, but we did some testing and they were the best product in the market. We worked with them explaining how do you have trusted data in a regulatory compliant way. So we did some work. They got some testing done. And then the field technician and the patient got together. On the test itself, from a CGMP medical device perspective, I need to know what lot is it? Has it expired? Right? The person giving the test, are they trained to actually administer a rapid diagnostic test? Right? When they look at the test, is there a human bias in interpreting the test? Right? So all this is electronically captured. We create an object. At this point, we actually write that object to a blockchain, which means it can never change. I know who did it, when it was done, is the device properly calibrated, right? And what is the outcome? So here's a question for the room. I heard about all these people getting treated at the secondary test facility. Can anybody tell me how many rapid diagnostics have been given out in the field and how many people chose not to show up? Now we can. When these tests are given, that immutable record actually notifies the secondary test facility that this was found positive, this is the registration number, right? And we can actually figure out on the 50 secondary diagnostic locations, are we staffing it properly? Do we have the right education? Can we piggyback another program such as hypertension education? How do we administer people when we don't get to see them all the time? And when we get that time, it's valuable, right? That secondary test, when they come in, the technician giving the secondary test actually has the results from the first in front of them. It comes in a little email, okay? They can do, oh, whoever read the test read it properly. I'm going to take that and do a secondary blood test. I'm going to run it through a rapid diagnostic viral load test and get the results. So now I have 2 collaborative points. Unfortunately, those tests came back positive. That patient then, as we heard about earlier, can go to the doctor, get the prescription, tie back to the doctor's office, right? And that whole process, which is now that patient who has that information that's immutable and trusted walks through the door, starts integrating with your health system, your EMR, your care plans, right? It's an integrated process. You know how they came in. They continue the process, they get treatment, pharmacy, then they can walk out the back door, and they can leave knowing they've been treated. They have an answer to have a longer life in the community and be involved. And they don't have to worry about the payment because now we can cycle this back. And we met with the Minister of Public Health Insurance, and we were walking through how can we do these things? How can we bring token efforts to reduce longevity and habitual care to reduce healthcare costs but improve the quality, right? That's why we're thinking outside the hallway. The hallway is super important. There's a bigger macro picture that we're seeing developing around the world, and these are the best practices that we want to share with folks here in Mongolia. Make sense? One other thing I want to share that happened yesterday that I'm pretty excited about is we actually had a contract signing with Vmonos Pharmaceuticals yesterday. So they're going to be working with Rymedi. We are going to actually be working to change their CGMP manufacturing level of regulatory compliance from WHO standards to FDA standard. What that's going to allow us to do is start using manufacturing traceability, right? Regulatory compliance and value chain integration all the way through so they can start exporting products. We're trying to get them into the US market, right? Some of the things, like I have a sore throat again today, the throat spray is amazing. If you haven't bought it, go out and buy it. It's got this great nozzle on it. But this is the integration and the team that you have in the room. Because by working out at Vmonos, like Rymedi, we're planning on hiring a couple people here in country so we can teach some of the techniques we're doing around the world. So we can share with them best practices. because there's other countries around the world, the WHO has already said, hey, work with us, we can define what the digital protocol standard is, right? Going forward, can we do this in other countries? Great. What we want to do is make sure that it's a continuation of the activity we're doing here in Mongolia that defines what the future could look like in digital health and bringing some great things we're learning here and exposing the world to it. So the consortium team that shows up, there may be some new faces, there may be some common faces. I know I don't get to see TD enough, but I have learned that being Hungarian, I'm actually Mongolian, so I didn't know that, but now I do. So we're actually involved in being here in country and really making a difference in continuation of what wellness is to us. So appreciate it. I wanted to be brief. Thank you for your time. Any questions?